If you're over 60, you must consume 4 of the worst seafoods every day and 4 that you should never touch. What if your preconceived notions regarding seafood after the age of 60 were incorrect? Scientists have discovered startling facts about some seafood that could either prolong your life or subtly ruin your health. Deep behind research labs throughout the world, 3 out of 4 seniors are unwittingly consuming ocean foods that hasten joint deterioration, raise blood pressure, and subtly harm the brain, according to startling new research. A 29% increased risk of memory loss was associated with one nutritious seafood item that is still available in supermarkets today. Even worse, the top seafood that can naturally mend cartilage and reduce inflammation by 45% is unknown to more than 99% of seniors. You shouldn't know this according to the seafood business. These discoveries have been concealed in obscure medical journals for millions of dollars. However, we're revealing the truth today. The 4 seafoods that function as medication for aging bodies and the 4 that are basically poison on a plate are shown in this video. Over 50,000 seniors visit emergency rooms each year for the most hazardous one, which is also the one we should avoid the most. Additionally, it has been demonstrated that the most advantageous one, which is our top must-eat, can reverse aging signs by as much as 15 years. Real medical instances and peer-reviewed scientific studies support everything you're about to learn. Let me ask you 2 questions before we start. First, have you recently had memory problems or inexplicable joint pain? Second, how many times a week do you consume seafood? Every comment is being reviewed, and we are providing tailored guidance and recommendations in response. For more videos like this, remember to subscribe to our channel and like this one. Let's begin with the 4 seafoods you should never touch without further ado. Raw oysters from warm waters are number 4. Although raw oysters may seem like a luxurious treat, those over 60 are risking their health by eating them. Vibrio vulnificus, a bacteria that thrives in warm coastal waters where oysters are harvested, is the threat. This food poisoning isn't like the others. This bacterium can cause septicemia in elderly people, a deadly blood illness that spreads quickly and kills mercilessly. You are 80 times more susceptible to Vibrio than younger folks since your immune system deteriorates with age. 96% of deaths occurred in persons over 60, according to a CDC research that followed 422 cases over 5 years. Seniors with underlying illnesses such as liver disease or diabetes had a startling 52% death rate. The symptoms begin rather innocently. After that expensive oyster feast, you may feel a little sick. But within a day, the infection can develop fever, chills, and the characteristic bullish skin lesions that resemble big, blood-filled blisters. Your body's defenses are overpowered when the bacteria grow rapidly in your circulation. Only consume completely cooked oysters if you must. The Vibrio bacteria are totally destroyed by the heat. Grill them until the flesh is firm and the shells pop open, or steam them for at least 5 minutes. Even better, use cooked mussels in place of raw oysters for comparable zinc and B12 benefits without the risk of death. I recall James Patterson, a retired Charleston banker who was 68 years old. He ordered a dozen raw oysters like he had done for decades to commemorate his anniversary at his favorite seafood restaurant. He had a fever of 104 degrees and was shaking uncontrollably by midnight. Doctors at the emergency hospital quickly identified the unmistakable indications of a Vibrio infection after his wife hurried him there. James experienced septic shock after 36 hours despite receiving strong antibiotics. Only after losing 3 toes to the infection and after 2 months of therapy did he make it out alive. Afterwards, he told me that the oysters were more expensive than his house. He now only eats them grilled. and he has turned into a spokesperson for oyster safety among his fellow golfers. King mackerel is a mercury bomb that is just waiting to detonate in your system, despite its stunning appearance at the fish market. As it moves up the food chain, this predatory shellfish accumulates methyl mercury from each smaller fish it eats. This leads to a perfect storm of neurological impairment for the elderly. Mercury does more than simply move through your body. It builds up in the tissue of your brain, concentrating on the parts that control memory and movement. According to a Harvard study of 1,200 persons over 65, weekly king mackerel eaters experienced cognitive impairment 30% more quickly than those who abstained from high-mercury seafood. Their average blood mercury levels, according to the study, were 11.2 parts per million, more than twice the EPA safety standard. Slowly, the symptoms appear. Initially, you may observe a minor trembling of your hands when holding a coffee cup. Then comes the fog of your mind, which causes you to lose sight of the reason you entered a room. Your feet will eventually feel as though they are always asleep due to peripheral neuropathy, a persistent nerve injury brought on by mercury exposure. Atlantic mackerel offers the same omega-3 advantages as king mackerel, but it has 75% less mercury. Even better options are wild sardines or salmon. Request a heavy metal blood test from your physician if you have been eating king mackerel on a regular basis. Although accumulated mercury can be removed with chelation therapy, the harm to the nervous system is frequently irreparable. King mackerel steaks were a favorite food of Margaret Chen, a 71-year-old retired educator. Believing she was making a healthy decision, she grilled them twice a week. 6 months later, she lost her memory of her grandchildren's names and began dropping things all the time. When her daughter saw her tripping, she demanded to see a doctor. Mercury toxicity was detected in blood testing with levels of 18.5 parts per million. After 3 months of chelation treatment, Margaret began eating sardines. She still has memory gaps from those 6 months of mercury buildup, even if her coordination has improved. She now instructs cooking lessons for senior citizens that emphasize low-mercury seafood selections. Second place. Asian prawns were imported. Southeast Asia's inexpensive shrimp have secrets more sinister than its muddy farming waters. More than 90% of the shrimp found in American stores is sourced from industrial farms in China, Vietnam, and Thailand, where laws are recommendations rather than mandates. In essence, these farms are poisonous waste sites that pass for fish manufacturing establishments. 60% of imported shrimp samples had prohibited antibiotics, according to independent testing by Consumer Reports. These include recognized carcinogens like nitrofurans and chloramphenicol, which can cause deadly plastic anemia. These substances do more than merely make people sick, especially elderly people with weakened immune systems. They radically change your body's defenses against illnesses. The circumstances for farming are terrible. In ponds tainted with animal and human waste, shrimp are crammed 100 per square meter. Farmers pour mixtures of growth hormones, insecticides, and antibiotics into the water to keep them alive. In a Texas research, traces of 162 different veterinary medications, including 11 that are prohibited in food manufacturing, were discovered in 342 imported shrimp samples. These substances build up in your kidneys and liver, which are already less effective around the age of 60. Chronic fatigue that doesn't go away with rest, unexplained rashes, and persistent nausea are some of the symptoms. Your chance of contracting antibiotic-resistant illnesses rises by 400% with prolonged use. Select American shrimp that are wild and from the Atlantic or Gulf coasts. Yes, they are 3 times more expensive, but they taste like shrimp rather than rubber and don't contain any ingredients that are prohibited. Purchase greater quality but less quantity if money is tight. Wild-caught shrimp that are frozen maintain their nutritional content and are frequently less expensive than those that are fresh. 66-year-old veteran Robert Sullivan was on a fixed income. Because it was inexpensive protein, he purchased imported shrimp every week. 8 months later, he had a chronic skin illness that was resistant to medications. When Robert brought up his consumption, his doctor became perplexed. Testing showed that he had chloramphenicol in his system, which had effectively ruined his body's capacity to make white blood cells. After 4 months of recuperation, he now only sometimes treats himself to wild-caught American shrimp. His arms were permanently scarred by the infection, serving as a constant reminder of those cheap shrimp feasts. This is the top seafood that is covertly harming the health of Americans in their older years. Although farm-raised tilapia is promoted as an inexpensive, healthful protein, it's actually an inflammatory nightmare that hastens the onset of all the age-related illnesses you're seeking to prevent. Compared to the optimal 1-to-1 ratio your body requires, the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in farm-raised tilapia is a disastrous 11-to-1. Arthritis, heart disease, and Alzheimer's are all directly exacerbated by the systemic inflammation this imbalance causes. Researchers from Wake Forest University discovered that eating farm-raised tilapia raises inflammatory markers more than eating hamburgers or bacon. In China, these fish are kept in cramped concrete tanks and fed chicken excrement, corn, and soy. Yes, it is what you read. Because it's inexpensive and speeds up growth, chicken feces is a main component of tilapia feed. Less than 2% of imported tilapia are inspected by the FDA, thus contamination is not discovered until people become ill. Dioxins, industrial pollutants that cause cancer, were found in 200 samples of farm-raised tilapia, in a Johns Hopkins research to be 11 times higher than EPA guidelines. These poisons build up quickly in adipose tissue and organs in elderly people whose detoxification mechanisms are already impaired. Joint pain that continues getting worse, cognitive fog that takes away your independence, and cardiovascular stress that puts you one meal away from a heart attack are all symptoms of the inflammation brought on by farm-raised tilapia. Swap it out for Pacific rockfish, wild-caught pollock, or even tinned wild salmon. These substitutes offer authentic omega-3 fatty acids without the harmful burden. Ironically, a 69-year-old cardiologist named Dr. Patricia Williams was killed by tilapia bred on a farm. Thinking she was doing what her own heart-healthy recommendations said, she ate it 4 times a week. Her arthritis worsened within a year, making surgery impossible. Inflammatory indicators were found to be at an all-time high in blood testing, with C-reactive protein levels at 28 mg/liter, which is normal at less than 3. She shifted to wild-caught fish and fully eradicated tilapia. Her inflammation decreased by 85% 6 months later, and she resumed her part-time job. She now calls tilapia the cigarette of the seafood industry, and speaks at medical conferences on the risks of farm-raised fish. Let's change the course now that you've seen the top 4 seafoods that could harm your health covertly. Let's explore the seafood you need to consume after the age of 60 in order to maintain your mental clarity, mobility, and pain-free state. The 4th item is Pacific sardines. Don't be fooled by their modest appearance. Powerful nutrients, Pacific sardines are especially beneficial for the health issues that older adults face. These little fish have more kokan than pricey supplements, more vitamin D than fortified cereals, and more accessible calcium than milk. Sardines' soft, edible bones provide 35% of your daily calcium requirements in a single meal. Here's what makes it unique, though. This calcium is prepackaged with phosphorus and vitamin D, which facilitates optimal absorption and guards against kidney stones that are frequently associated with calcium supplements. 2 weekly sardine consumption boosted bone density by 4% yearly in a Stanford study of 1,100 postmenopausal women, whereas there was no change in the supplement group. Sardines have almost minimal mercury since they are low on the food chain and solely consume plankton. Mercury levels were 90% lower than FDA safety guidelines, according to independent testing conducted by the Environmental Defense Fund. You don't have to worry about accumulating if you consume them every day. At a tenth of the price, the omega-3 level is comparable to that of pricey salmon, according to a Portuguese study that tracked 800 seniors for 5 years. Eating sardines on a regular basis boosted cognitive test scores by 15% and decreased cardiovascular events by 38%. Their EPA and DHA ratios, which precisely match what aging brains require for upkeep and repair, hold the key. Purchase Pacific sardines that are wild and packaged in water or olive oil. Steer clear of those in soybean oil, which contains omega-6 inflammatory chemicals. To make a creamy spread, mash them with avocado. They can be eaten with crackers right out of the can or added to pasta. If you are uncomfortable with the texture, start with boneless, skinless variants. Proceed to whole sardines for optimal nutritional value. A 73-year-old postal man named Frank Morrison had severe osteoporosis. Expensive bisphosphonates that caused excruciating stomachache were recommended by his doctor. Sardines were recommended by a dietitian. Frank was desperate yet doubtful. He began to eat a lunch sandwich with candle put into it. His bone scan revealed a 3% rise in density after 6 months, which was the first improvement in 5 years. Without taking pills, his vitamin D levels returned to normal, and his joint discomfort significantly subsided. Frank, who is now 76, attributes his continued mobility and lack of medication to his daily sardine habit. He even converted his fellow poker players to the so-called Sardine Club. Alaskan salmon captured in the wild come in at number 3. The difference between wild-caught Alaskan salmon and its farm-raised counterpart is like a Ferrari and a broken bicycle. It's not only high-quality fish, it's medication that swims upstream, delivering substances that particularly fix cellular damage brought on by aging. As an antioxidant, astaxanthin, which gives wild salmon its rich red hue, is 6,000 times more potent than vitamin C. This substance shields neurons from oxidative stress by crossing the blood-brain barrier, something that most antioxidants are unable to do. In an 8-year study of 500 persons over 65, Japanese researchers discovered that those who ate wild salmon twice a week saw 40% less cognitive impairment than those who did not. Thyroid function, which typically deteriorates after age 60, is supported by selenium levels seen in wild Alaskan salmon. The mineral reduces inflammatory markers in concert with omega-3 fatty acids. According to a UCLA study, seniors who regularly ate wild salmon had 50% lower levels of C-reactive protein than those who ate farm-raised fish. 75% of seniors suffer from a vitamin D deficiency, which is addressed by wild salmon, which has 1,000 international units of vitamin D per meal. This natural form supports everything from immune function to bone health and absorbs better than supplements. According to Norwegian research, eating wild salmon decreased the incidence of falls in older adults by 23% because vitamin D improves muscle function. Seek out Alaskan king, sockeye, or Copper River salmon. These kind contain the fewest contaminants and the highest amount of omega-3. Make salmon patties with canned wild kinds, bake it with spices, or grill it plain with lemon. For best results, aim for 2 6-ounce servings. A 70-year-old grandmother named Eleanor Chang was identified as having early-stage dementia. The drugs that her neurologist recommended had terrible adverse effects. After doing some research, her daughter persuaded Eleanor to eat wild Alaskan salmon 4 times a week. Within 2 months, they saw improvements. Eleanor's attitude stabilized, she was able to recall her grandchildren's activities, and her word searching improved. After a year, brain scans revealed better blood flow and less inflammation. Eleanor was not cured, but her progress slowed significantly. She also teaches cooking workshops at the senior center, where she consistently incorporates recipes for wild salmon that she refers to as brain food for the wise. Second place, New Zealand Green-Lipped Mussels, the most potent anti-inflammatory seafood found in nature. Green-lipped mussels from New Zealand seas contain chemicals that pharmaceutical companies have spent millions trying to mimic. These mussels aren't your typical ones. They are effective treatments for the joint pain that affects 80% of adults over 60. ETAs, or icosahedronoic acids, are special omega-3 fatty acids that are only found in these mussels and nowhere else in nature. When it comes to lowering inflammation, ETAs are 200 times more effective than regular fish oil. Green-lipped mussel extract enhanced mobility by 91% and decreased pain levels by 89% after 12 weeks, according to an Australian study involving 400 arthritis patients. Green-lipped mussels have glycosaminoglycans that are exactly like those found in human joint fluid. As you consume, they really repair cartilage. Studies conducted in New Zealand monitored 300 elderly people with osteoarthritis who frequently ate these mussels. In 45% of patients, MRI scans revealed real cartilage regeneration, which was previously believed to be impossible without surgery. Compared to red meat, green-lipped mussels have more bioavailable iron, which helps treat the anemia that 25% of seniors suffer from. They offer glucosamine and chondroitin in natural proportions that are unmatched by artificial supplements. Copper helps produce collagen, whereas manganese promotes bone development. If fresh New Zealand green-lipped mussels are not available, get frozen ones or premium supplements. Add garlic and white wine and steam them. Use them with mussel soup or spaghetti. Eat them every day when your arthritis flares up or twice a week to keep your joints healthy. When fresh, the shells should be securely closed and bright green. A debilitating case of knee arthritis forced 67-year-old construction foreman Michael O'Brien into early retirement. He was in too much pain to walk to his mailbox. When his physical therapist brought up green-lipped mussels, he was slated for knee replacement surgery. Michael ate them every day after ordering frozen ones online out of desperation. 6 weeks later, he called off his consultation for surgery. He was able to walk again once the pain had subsided by 75%. 6 months later, X-rays revealed more joint space, which suggested cartilage regeneration. At the age of 71, Michael manages a tiny import company that supplies arthritis patients with New Zealand green-lipped mussels. It has been 4 years since he last took a pain medication. First place, Mediterranean octopus in the wild. The best seafood that could transform health after 60 is listed here. Mediterranean wild octopuses are more than just food. Science is just starting to comprehend this neurological regeneration system. Compounds found in this 8-armed sea genius directly fight against age-related muscular atrophy and cognitive decline. With all 9 of the essential amino acids in the ideal proportions for aging bodies, octopus offers more complete protein per calorie than any other seafood. With a taurine level 16 times higher than salmon, it helps prevent heart failure, which affects 1 in 4 elderly people. Over a 10-year period, Japanese cardiologists discovered that seniors who ate octopus once a week experienced 60% fewer heart incidents. Octopus's copper concentration triggers enzymes necessary for the synthesis of neurotransmitters. 70% of seniors are deficient in this trace mineral, which has a direct effect on mood modulation and memory development. The cognitive scores of older octopus fishermen who frequently ate their catch were found to be 45% higher than those of inland inhabitants by Italian researchers researching fishing towns in the Mediterranean. Unique peptides found in octopuses promote the generation of growth hormone, halting the rapid loss of muscle mass that occurs after the age of 60. Without altering exercise, regular octopus eating enhanced lean muscular mass by 12% and grip strength by 30% over a 6-month period, according to Greek studies on 200 seniors. The B12 content addresses the deficit that causes fatigue and confusion in millions of seniors by reaching 600% of daily needs per serving. Even in people who have less stomach acid, this B12 is absorbed thanks to intrinsic factor-like molecules. Select Mediterranean octopus that is wild-caught, as it has the best nutritional characteristics. Freeze it overnight to properly tenderize it, then cook it slowly in tomato sauce. Grill it with lemon and olive oil, or make it Spanish style with paprika. If the texture appears difficult to master, start with baby octopus. Consume it once a week to maintain your muscles and safeguard your brain. The 72-year-old doctor, Dr. Maria Castellanos, was afraid of her memory lapses. Hippocampal shrinkage was detected early in brain imaging. She learned about the special qualities of octopuses through her research on neurological nutrition. After learning traditional recipes from her Greek friend, she started eating grilled octopus 3 times a week. Her memory significantly improved after 4 months. After a year, fresh brain scans revealed a larger hippocampus, effectively reversing the reduction. The neurologist was taken aback. Maria, who is 75 years old, has penned a cookbook titled 8 Arms to Better Brain Health and is still practicing with a sharper mind than her colleagues who are 20 years younger. She attributes her career and possibly her sanity to octopus. Ultimately, your body no longer has the capacity to forgive errors as it once did, but it also reacts more strongly to healthy eating after the age of 60. This week, start with one change. Use wild sardines instead of tilapia bred on a farm. Try the green-lipped mussels instead of the imported shrimp. Your future self will appreciate it with stronger bones, pain-free movement, and more coherent ideas. Both poison and medicine can be found in the water. We'd like to hear from you now. Which of these seafoods have you been consuming without understanding the advantages or risks? Were you surprised by anything in today's video? Please leave your thoughts and experiences in the comments section below. We enjoy listening to them. Thank you for viewing.